NHL today, right here on SportsGrid. Mike Carver here with you. Great to have everybody with us as we take our weekly look around the National Hockey League. And what a day to be doing that, as we have the NHL trade deadline today coming up in a little bit. A bunch of deals have already happened. Maybe some others are going to get across the line here as we continue to move forward. So a very busy day in the NHL, and this is a day that obviously is going to shape the Stanley Cup playoffs moving forward. Last chance to get any of those pieces that you need to maybe put your team over the top. We've seen a couple teams like Colorado and Tampa already try to do that, and we will see if anyone else can get themselves some extra firepower, some extra defensive depth, etc. Before the long march, and it is a long march through the Stanley Cup playoffs. Guys, winning those 16 games, I always say, and I'm not just saying this because this is the NHL show, I actually believe it. It is the hardest trophy to win in sports, the Stanley Cup. And winning those 16 games from April to June, not easy, and today's your last shot to try to fine-tune yourself and see if you can get that through. So there has been a couple of pretty big moves already here over the last 24 to 48 hours leading up into the deadline, which is coming up at 3 p.m. East. Last night you had Brock Nelson leaving the Islanders, going to the Colorado Avalanche. Love this deal for the Avalanche. And as an Islander guy, as you know, love that they get this kid Richie, this 20-year-old kid that Colorado took in the first round 2 years ago. Because if there's one thing the Islanders do not have a lot of, well, they don't really have much of a pipeline to begin with. But they really do not have a lot of highly skilled offensive players in their pipeline, and that's what Richie is. So for them to get him, plus a first, plus a conditional third down the line, we've done a lot of bashing of Lou Lamoriello recently as the New York Islander general manager. Getting that kind of return for Brock Nelson, and look, he's a 900, just past 900 games as an Islander. He's done a lot of great things, part of that core team that brought the Islanders back to resurgence, a couple of appearances in the Eastern Conference Final, but I'm just not in the business of giving 34, 35-year-old players 5-year deals at $7 million a year. So if that's what Brock truly wants, which is what reports say it is, God bless and good luck. I hope you go win a cup in Colorado and go get your money. You've done what you can for the New York Islanders, who need to start looking in a different direction. But what does this do for Colorado? Adding a center on the second line behind, of course, what they already have, a powerful first line. You throw that down there with McKinnon. You go down in the second line with Brock Nelson now, who's got a ton of playoff experience, an excellent face-off taker. This bumps the Avalanche up, and you've already seen them move up the board here. You know, the Avalanche were around 10 or 11 early in the week. Now they find themselves in the 7 to 8 to 1 range. The West is loading up in general. The West is going to be a bear here with Edmonton, with Dallas, with Colorado, with Vegas, with Winnipeg. All of these teams trying to get themselves to the Stanley Cup final. The West is going to be a lot of fun, and I think Colorado made themselves a lot better with what they could do with Brock Nelson. On the East side of things, it's Tampa for me has started to make, Tampa always makes these small little moves. Brisebois makes these moves. And, was it a lot to give up for Yanni Gourde and Oliver Bjorkstrand? Yeah, probably. A couple first-round picks. But I think Brisebois takes the right attitude. I don't care about picks. I'm trying to win a cup. I'll worry about that down the line. I wish that more GMs had that refreshing approach. You just saw the board there. I still think Tampa, and that board's updated with after they've obviously made this deal, I still think Tampa, $550 to win the East. And, you talk a little bit longer, around 11 to win the Cup right now. And what I think is a wide-open Eastern Conference, give me a shot with Tampa. They've got a lot of players on that team who have Cup experience. They have a goaltender with Cup experience. They have a coach who's one of the best in the league. I'll take a shot with Tampa, who seems to be throwing a little bit of an all-in, push the chips in moment here at the trade deadline. So a lot of stuff that you have to look forward to here coming the rest of the day. Deadline's getting close, and we'll see if some teams can change some fortunes here in the near future. We got a lot of games tonight we're going to get to quickly. A few things from last night that I just wanted to mention. Number one, Utah's pretty hot, and Utah's playing tonight also. They beat the Red Wings in Detroit. They were a slight road favorite. Kind of looked at it and probably went, what's going on here? And they came out and showed you they're playing really good hockey. Red Wings on a little bit of a spin. They're playing tonight as well, and they need to get themselves back on track. Wild game with the Lightning and the Sabres in Buffalo. In fact, you did have Bjorkstrand scoring the winner for Tampa in that game, 6-5. Back and forth. Gensel had a huge night. He had a hat trick. Buffalo, again, blows leads. They stink. I saw they traded Cousins to Ottawa as well. So Buffalo, it never ends with them. Panthers with a win last night. The Jets got a win in Philadelphia as they get back on track. Carolina, we'll see what they look like by the end of the day with a 3-2 win over the Bruins. And the Stars getting an overtime win over the Flames. Late night, Avalanche pulverizing the Sharks. The Sharks were a little spunky this week. You know, you caught the Sharks with some wins as big road dogs. Not able to bark in Colorado. 7-3. Smashed they were in those games. As we mentioned, tonight on a Friday night in the NHL, 6 games, which is better than they usually give us. So why don't we take a look and see what we have. Winnipeg is going to be at the Rock in Jersey against the Devils. Winnipeg has won, obviously, 12 of their last 15. They did lose at the horse track earlier this week to the Islanders, but bounced back with the win in Philly. 13 of the last 16 Devil home games have been played to the under. What do we have in tonight? The Winnipeg Jets. What do they play a lot of? Unders. Don't have Jack Hughes anymore for the Devils. He's done for the year. Under. 5.5 tonight. Sounds like a good way to look for the Jets and the Devils over at the Prudential Center. Detroit, as we mentioned, they've been scuffling there in Washington against the Caps. Detroit has lost 4 games in a row. Caps with a little bounce back here. 6.5, a healthy total for us tonight. We're going to look actually in this game later for some props when we get to the final 5 and see if we can find some stuff. Utah, they've won 4 of their last 5 after winning last night in Detroit. They're in Chicago against the Blackhawks here. Road favorite again, 2 nights in a row, -172 tonight. Blackhawks, as we know, stink. Over in 4 of the last 5 meetings between the two. They've played a couple wild games in Utah this year. We're going to try to get them with a little bit of an over tonight as well. Going to look to that. It's a big number at 6.5, but I think we can get there because this is what Chicago likes to do. They give up 4, 5, 6 goals every night, and they're usually pretty good at chipping in 2 or 3 of their own. Minnesota into Vancouver this evening against the Canucks. Minnesota has actually won 9 of their last 10 against Vancouver. And when you look right now, the Western Conference, I have been a big believer that 7 of the spots have been kind of locked up. Now, LA has had a little bit of a problem. They've lost 5 in a row, and they're bringing themselves back to the pack. But that last wild card spot in the West right now, Calgary with 68, Vancouver with 67, St. Louis with 66, Utah with 65. So 3 points separating 4 teams for that last spot in the West. Minnesota with 76, feeling pretty comfortable right now. Vancouver could use every single point that they can get. We'll see if they can do it. Pittsburgh is at the T-Mobile in Vegas against the Knights. Vegas has covered the puck line in 4 of their last 5 games at home at the T-Mobile, and I think there's a good chance they do it again tonight. Another 6.5 we have in this game. You see some big lumber for the Knights there at -235. And St. Louis is at the Duck Pond in Anaheim against the Ducks. St. Louis has won 12 of 13 in the Duck Pond, 8 straight overall against Anaheim. Anaheim's been a little spunky lately, though. Well, they lost the other night, but some of these games they've won at home. Beat Vancouver at home, won in Edmonton the other night. They smashed the Oilers. Be careful there with the Ducks at home late night after the Blues went and won in L.A. there. We got a lot to do. NHL today, we're just getting going. Mike Carver with you on the grid. We're back right after this.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you giving like the Any Given Sunday Inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We got to talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flagg wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
And we are back. NHL today, right here on SportsGrid. Carver High here with you. Of course, as we are getting ready, NHL trade deadline today, there is a lot going on. We are trying to keep ourselves around with all of it. And good to have Tom Vecchio back on the show. And I got to tell you, Tom, last week, fire. You were excellent last week with the picks last Friday. I was too. I hope everybody who watched NHL today last Friday, got involved in a heavy way. Nice job by you, Tom. Hat tip to you as always.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on again as well. Trade deadline, as you said, we are at a incredibly important point in the season. We can talk about that. We got some games to get into tonight. I'm ready to go.
Let's start with a few deals that we know have taken place. Of course, a couple more might come down the pike here as we're getting closer to the deadline. Let me do this Brock Nelson one that happened late Thursday night. Brock Nelson goes from the Islanders over to Colorado. They get a big second-line center that's going to help Matt. Now, the return is outstanding. The Isles get this kid that they took in the first round a couple years ago who's been lighting up the OHL, and he's going to be in the mix. They get a first-rounder. They get a third-rounder conditional. So a good return for the Isles for a guy that was going to be a UFA. Is 35 years old, has played 900 games for them, but that can happen. Let's take this from the Colorado side, Tom. We've seen their odds move. I've seen them move anywhere from 7 to 8 to 1 now to win the Cup. The West seems to be really loading up. What does this do for the Avalanche?
It just makes the Avs that much deeper. A team that we know can perform in the playoffs. I think they need to shore up some of those deficiencies that they had. They were talking about moving Casey Middlestat. Whether that's unfolds to the deadline, we're not sure. But I think it's a great move for them. They'll put him on probably the second power play along with the second forward line, but the second power play, a player that wins faceoffs, it can be on the penalty kill. So I think it's an overall great move for the Avs, and it's also a great move for the Isles. Getting a first round pick back, they said it was going to be 26 or 25, 26 or 26, 27. I forget what the condition was, but they also need to start building back up that prospect pool because they only had one first round pick over the past 5 or 6 years. So it's great from both sides. I think the Avs are not done making moves. I think they'll try and add one more player, shore up that bottom 6, and be ready to roll into the playoffs.
Yeah, there's a lot of conditions with that first rounder. Yeah. So I think the Colorado also owes Philly a first rounder, and it depends on when if they have to give it to Philly this year, then the Islanders would get 27. You know that all these deals are always like top 10 protected, top 12 protected, etc. So there's a lot of stipulations, but the Islanders get a first rounder, and they get something else they didn't have. And I obviously know the Islanders very well, and that's a dynamic young offensive player like Cal Ritchie, who the Islanders don't have any of them. They don't have many of those, aside from Matt Barzal and maybe one or two others. So Cal Ritchie, who's 20 years old, who maybe could be a dynamic offensive player for them in the future, good thing. The other one that kind of moved the board a little bit in the last 2 days with the trade deadline is Tampa pushing the chips again here, Tom. Now, we've seen Tampa do this in the past. They've won a couple cups in the last 5 years, so Brisebois knows what he's doing. I loved what he said afterwards, too, because I am such a proponent of this, Tom. When you have a chance to win the cup, I don't care about first-round draft picks that are going to be between 28 and 30 in the end of the first round. I don't care. I'd rather get players that are going to help me potentially win a cup. Now, you can argue with me if Yanni Gord and Oliver Borkstrand are guys that are going to maybe help them win the cup, but that's the kind of guys that Tampa always adds when they've made those runs to the cup, so I can't fault Brisebois for doing it.
Absolutely in total agreement. Like, we've seen them do this with Barclay Goodrow a couple, however many years ago at this point, whatever it was. But when you get these first round picks, again, 3 years down the road, when you draft that player, he's not going to be an immediate impact player, especially where you draft him at 25 to 30. If you're drafting him in the top 5, maybe he plays that year. But there's times where you draft a 19-year-old, he's not even on the roster for another 3 years. So you're 3 years down the road, then he's not going to be for another 3 years. Talking about more than half a decade away. You're not willing to sacrifice that when you have such a strong core. Now, I know Hedman got hurt last night, a little bit banged up, but when you have Vasilevsky outside of last night's game, over the last 2 weeks, he's been playing at such an incredibly high level. Obviously, getting Jake Gensel in the offseason was amazing. When you have this core, you need to bolster that. And getting these depth players, which may not be massive stars, but they make them just that much better. I bought in on Tampa at 17-1 about a week and a half ago. That line has moved. I think I saw it at 13-1, wherever it might be, to win the cup. This is a team that you should be worried about, especially if Florida is not going to be fully healthy with Matthew Tkachuk on long-term IR. It's Tampa.
I'm with you, and I've seen it go as low as this very moment in the 11 and 12. So nice job catching 17 a week ago, because the East is wide open, in my opinion. Yeah. And I am I know people on this network have heard me say this. It's like they can't listen to it anymore. I am not a believer in teams going back to the final. It's so hard to get back to the finals. What Florida did last year is unheard of. Losing a final, coming all the way back and getting back to finally winning the cup, going again and getting to the Stanley Cup final, especially with how Kachuk's been banged up. I don't see it. Who knows what Carolina's going to look like in a couple hours, and I never believe in them anyway. Washington has had a great year, but you don't know. Why not Tampa again out of the East, sneaking up on everybody and getting themselves back to a Stanley Cup final? It is absolutely possible. All right, Tom, tonight, got a bunch of games. I like when Friday night's a little loaded, because usually there's like 2 or 3 games on a Friday night. At least we get ourselves 6 games. Jets, Devils, Wings, Caps, Utah, Blackhawks, Wild in Vancouver, and the Blues are at the Duck Pond. Penguins are at the T-Mobile in Vegas against the Knights. Give me some stuff for Friday night.
Yeah, so looking to New Jersey at home, and I know it's not the easiest matchup in the world going up against Winnipeg. This is the second game for New Jersey since they lost Jack Hughes for the season. So I'm playing Jesper Bratt over 2.5 shots on goal, plus 140, and Nico Hischier over 2.5 goals at plus 125. I'm just hoping one of them comes through, right? As long as one of them comes through, we can still come out a little bit net positive. Again, they're back at home. Hughes is out. Dougie Hamilton's out tonight. It's a tough matchup, but they need to get the offense going without Hughes. And then I'm also looking out west to Vegas. Like, it's going to be a Vegas onslaught tonight. So I like Jack Eichel, that is, for 2+ points, sitting at plus 160, plus 162. They're just going to steamroll the Penguins tonight. There's really no reason they shouldn't be putting up multiple goals.
And Tom, maybe we can make one of those Jack Eichel points, and I'll give you a preview for Final Five coming up next segment. A power play point for Jack Eichel tonight. Can we slide that in as one of the 2 points that you need from him, so that, as we always like to say, Tom, everybody can eat here Absolutely. On NHL Today. Tom Vecchio with us. Great stuff as always. NHL Today on the grid. We're back right after this.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play 2 different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect, control, and defense. it wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. This goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
And we are back. NHL Today, right here on SportsGrid. Mike Carver here with you. Great to have everybody with us. Nice job by Tom Vecchio. As his plays for night. He was on fire last week. Hopefully we keep that going tonight. We did pretty good with the Final Five last week as well. We had one of the power play points. We had the goal scorer, I believe. I think it was Rand Robertson last Friday night, if I remember correctly. And we had a few other things. So nice job as we continue to try to stay hot here on NHL Today. Let's get to tonight with a little Final Five for us to kick things off. We always do with the power play points first. We've got a three-pack for you as always. We will start. I'm going to start with Detroit. Lucas Raymond, who's got the Caps this evening. We know Detroit's been sputtering, but their power play is still very good. Raymond, the top 10 this year in power play points. He's got 23 power play assists this year, plus 270 for him. We'll go and take a crack. Next, Connor Bedard with the Blackhawks. Told you, expecting some goals with Chicago and Utah. Really, the power play is one of the few ways that the Blackhawks do actually score, and you're getting Bedard at a very nice price tonight. Very fat at plus 330. We'll check in with him. And late night for the Vegas Golden Knights. You heard me say it to Tom. He wants Eichel for 2 points tonight. Well, can we get one of those points as a power play point at plus 185? Of course we can. Let's go. Get Jack Eichel involved in the mix here. Next, goal scorer for this evening. Going back to the Detroit-Washington game, I am kind of feeling a little bit of an over in this game, but I'm just going to sprinkle some props instead of playing it. And that is I'm going to go with Alex DeBrincat to score at plus 210. He's got 8 goals in his last 10 games, been filling the net a lot. I know you got Ovi in the game. The Ovi numbers have gotten kind of silly. I will not play a guy to score a goal at minus money. It's against my well-being and every fiber in my being. So I will not. Just like I will never bet when I do touchdowns during the fall. I'll never bet a minus money touchdown. I'll never bet a minus money goal scorer. Alex Ovechkin's like minus 115 tonight to score a goal. So no thank you for me. We'll go to Brinket at plus 210 instead for that. Side for this evening, we gave you the numbers before about Minnesota and what they have done against Vancouver. They've won 9 of their last 10 against them, and they're a short dog tonight up at Vancouver. So we're going to take the Minnesota Wild this evening as our side on the Final Five to get things done, plus 108 for them. Our total, up, and away. Utah and Chicago, 6.5. Let's fill the net at the United Center. Goals on a Friday night. They might not all be for the home team, but we'll get ourselves an over with the Utah Hockey Club and the Blackhawks. And our future for this week. We added Winnipeg to win the Cup last week, so we have that now in the stable, and we're going to go with this because of a few things that have happened this week. Number one, the Devils have lost Jack Hughes for the rest of the season. He smashed his shoulder in Vegas last week, had to have surgery on it. He is done. Look at the standings right now. Devils are sitting third in the Metro. Okay, well, they're in a playoff spot right now, right? They're okay. They got 72 points. Rangers have 67. They're 5 points back of the Devils. Devils have struggled. They've lost 6 of their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row. Rangers are playing a little bit better hockey. They've won 6 of their last 10, so they've gained some ground. If the Devils can pass them. Now, Columbus is 4 back of them, too. So you got Columbus that could pass them. You got the Rangers that could pass them. And then the Devils get thrown in the blender with all the other teams in the Atlantic fighting for wild card spots. I could see them letting go of the rope a little bit here. They got a very tough schedule down the stretch, too. Let's take a bomb shot at plus 750 for the Devils to miss the playoffs with no Hughes the rest of the way. Take a little crack at that. This number's gone up a little bit. It was like around 3 to 1, 4 to 1 when he first got hurt. They're getting a little more faith in him. I'm not having the faith. I'm going to go maybe try to take a shot with the Devils to miss the playoffs at plus 750. That's our future for this week on the Final Five. All right, so there you go with our plays for this evening. Let's hope that we can stay hot. NHL trade deadline is coming up soon. Lots of deals still to be coming through. Board's going to look a lot different maybe in a couple of hours once things settle down and they get all the deals that come through. Remember, a couple sometimes happen a few minutes after the deadline. Make sure you keep your eyes open. We'll see if we can maybe get ourselves a little surprise big deal here towards the end as somebody tries to solidify themselves in this NHL playoff race. All right, that's it for today here on NHL Today. Great to have Tom Vecchio with us, and I know he's going to stay hot for us too later this evening. Good slate tonight. Tons of games this weekend as well to sink your teeth into, and down the stretch we come. As after you pass the trade deadline, April and the Stanley Cup playoffs, they are right in your sights, and we're going to have you covered here on NHL Today every single week. Great job by Vinny, Tommy, and the crew. Mike Carver with you, NHL Today on the grid. See you next week.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. And so it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drifts. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.